Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey, beautiful souls. It is Crestani here, and I wanted to have a chat with you about a really amazing cacao that I drink to help me get in ceremony, to help me ground, but also just because it tastes freaking good. So if you're curious and want to know about drinking something other than coffee or your standard tea, why not check out Creation Cacao? I love this with a bit of honey and cinnamon sprinkled in and just letting it brew and having that whole intention as you create this cup. So if you're curious and want to know more, check out the link in the show notes and in the bio and enjoy your cup of cacao. Hey everyone, it's Crestani with another episode of Willow Healing Matters, and today I am joined by the beautiful Devorah Brinckerhoff. She is a mixed media artist and transformational guide with over 30 years of experience who develops soul portraits. This is an innovative healing methodology that uses creativity to transform trauma into empowerment. RISD trained and formerly gallery represented, her life took an unexpected turn when protecting her children from sexual abuse and led to complete family estrangement overnight. The crisis became the catalyst for discovering that creativity could fundamentally shift how we relate to our most difficult experiences. Her soul portrait process involves physically working with actual personal materials, old letters, photos, documents, allowing people to access embodied wisdom their minds can't reach. Now working from her Oregon studio, she guides individuals through commissioned portraits and teaches workshops, helping people shed false identities and reclaim their authentic power. Having walked through the trenches of grief and loss herself, she brings both compassion and practical tools to hold space for others' deepest healing work. Welcome to the show, Devorah.
Thanks for having me, Catherine. I'm happy to be here.
So there is so much to unpack in that bio. I love it so much. You have definitely been on a journey. So you were always an artist and then it evolved. Is that what happened?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that was a mouthful. I never know how much people are going to say. Yes. So I've been drawing and painting my whole life, and I was good at it and wasn't very good at other things. So went to art school and went down a very traditional path of gallery representation, and recognized later that I'd always been painting and drawing for myself, that creativity was such a wellspring of well-being.
And that is such a beautiful way to be able to transform that, especially going through that crisis with your family and having to make, I imagine, these decisions in the moment and really quickly in order to keep your children safe, because that's what we do as mums.
It is. It was a mess. It was a horrible mess. And I wouldn't wish it on anyone, but I also think that the topic of sexual abuse is such a taboo topic that people have really big, powerful, scary reactions to learning about it and dealing with it. And they do not know how to handle. We, as a culture, as a society, as a global society, I don't think we know how to handle sexual violence or grief and loss. I think that we have a lot of shortcomings when it comes to the shadow side of being human.
I completely agree. And especially a lot of people don't want to face the shadows or face the darker stuff or the darker parts of themselves. And I feel that's kind of how that nice girl syndrome, it was born, right? Because it's like, I don't want to embrace this darker aspect of me. Instead, I'm just going to pretend everything's fine and agree to everything, even though it doesn't necessarily resonate with who I am.
Absolutely. I think that nice girl really is a survival tool technique where we've been born and bred to be whoever other people need us to be for our own safety. I mean, I think that it was necessary for hundreds of years to sort of buck up and take whatever was dealt our way. But I don't know that that was just for women. I think that we've pigeonholed the roles of men and women. And then nowadays, there are so many different ways of being in the world that feel like have opened up a lot of room for self-expression, which I'm glad about.
Yeah. And I love that you brought that up because there was this workshop that came up. It was a nice girl workshop. And it was,
Uh-huh.
and I sent it to a friend, but then I sent it to another friend and he was a male and he goes, haha, like, why is this for me? And I said, read the description. And he's like, I understand.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's just we get pigeonholed and we get put in these corners, and in the end it's you have to truly listen to what your soul wants and what you want to do and how you want to show up in this world too.
Yes. And I was very afraid to look inside. I had always pushed away. I was wrestling with low self esteem and issues of worthiness and value and belonging and unconditional love versus conditional love. And you don't really want to, at least my fear was that if I really looked inside, I'd find that all of those fears were true. And I think that that's why people are afraid to lean into their shadow. But in truth, when I finally did really look inside, what I realized is that those fears were absolutely false, that there was nothing other than love that dwelled inside of me. And it was such a tiny ember by then, right? My self connection had really diminished. And so I needed to fan the flames of that and grow it. And creativity helped me every step of the way.
And I love that you channeled your talents as an artist to then birth these soul portraits and this immersion into art a different way, I want to say.
Yeah. 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 No, it's amazing.
So how did it start? Well, was it birthed into the world? That's the question I want to ask.
So, what I don't think I realized is that I had been making a version of soul portraits my entire career. It's just essentially using materials from my own life. So, journal pages, old drawings from high school, little ticket stubs from here and there, glued down and painted over. I made lampshades that had photographs transferred into them and just was creating in this very intuitive way that I didn't understand what they were really about, but they were always nudging me towards the truth of myself. And later, when the shit really hit the fan and I had been excommunicated from my family and sued by my parents and my husband's family, I was just like, okay, there's this huge message of rejection, and I need to ask myself if I'm going to accept this as my reality. Do I really deserve to be treated in this way? Do I really deserve to think of myself in the way that other people think of me? So, other people have whatever rights. They can think of me and treat me however they're going to treat me. But it's up to me to determine whether or not I will accept that. And so when I started using the materials from those experiences and ripping them up in my studio, totally without thinking, about 3 or 4 hours into the process, I stood back and realized that I had been disassembling this story and reassembling myself on canvas. And I had looked at the clock, and what felt like 5 minutes was much longer than that. But my entire energy in that realization shifted, and I realized I was onto something here. And I spent the next probably 4 years intensely working on my own stuff, my own limiting beliefs, my own false identities. And then I started doing this for other people, and then I started teaching it, and then so on and so forth.
That's so beautiful. Like how it was just, but I feel sometimes our best creativity is birthed from that need to actually rediscover ourselves, right? Like it's birthing that creative essence in some way, but it's whatever medium aligns with you. But even from the sound intuitively, from what you're offering with people's soul portraits, it's just they take what they have that they no longer want, and then they put that into a canvas and transform it and use that alchemy somehow.
Yeah, exactly. You said that so well. And I use the word alchemy all the time. Creativity is everywhere, whether you're dancing or gardening or cooking or music, whatever it is, it's that self-connection. It's so powerful.
100%. And
Uh-huh.
alchemy is such a underrated process that we've
Yeah.
almost forgotten about. That's why fire ceremonies are so powerful. And, you know, burying things and ripping things up and, giving things back to nature. And it's all such a small thing, but it has such a profound impact on energy. And just the act of surrendering that whatever you need to let go can allow the energy to alchemize into something beautiful.
Absolutely. And I've worked with a lot of people who have sent me their materials and they're like, well, I just wanted to throw these away. And I'm like, well, throwing them away doesn't actually help you engage with the energy that exists within those experiences. Like the letters, the journals, whatever materials you're sending me, they're a representation of the energy that's in your body, that's held in our body. And so when you give me those materials or you work with them yourself, you're actually meeting those versions of who you have been with compassion, awareness, and the intention to integrate the experience rather than deny, remove, push away, exile those experiences. So they need to be addressed in order to move that energy. And that's the exciting part. Like people are really afraid of it, but they come and they do it and they're like, "Oh, that was amazing. It was a relief. I feel so much better." And I'm like, "Mhm." But really you're not going to take my word for it. You need to do it yourself, or when people send it to me, then they have the experience of sending me what they feel is unacceptable or ugly or whatever. And I love sending it back through the lens of love and acceptance. And when they see themselves and see that somebody else saw them that way, they can start to try that on as an identity.
So, from my understanding, what you were just sharing then is that people, if they're not confident to do themselves, you can help create a soul portrait based on what they share with you, or you can guide them through creating their own. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah,
Okay, beautiful.
definitely.
Which I feel like could be fun just to try. That's just
It's
me.
It's so fun. It's so fun. I'll send you the course. There's a digital course and you can try it.
Okay, I will, because it's amazing. Because I am a person that will write things down to get it out, and then I'll burn
Yeah,
them. I
perfect.
do that so often, and then I just ask that it's released and let go. And it's amazing with this energy shift in the collective that, we don't have to go to the root cause and go relive that initial trauma like we did when we first stepped into this healing. It's gotten so fast now. All you have to do is feel it, observe it,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
accept it, and then you can
Uh-huh.
let it go. And if this
Yeah,
process is your bridge to doing that, and you can do it in a fun and creative way, why not?
absolutely. And yeah, um, you don't have to understand everything that's being transformed. You can just move through the process, just like what you're saying, that getting it out, being able to engage with it is the magic. It's like drinking magic. It's so good.
And what I feel a lot of people forget is the more that you push something away, the more you're going to attract it back to you, because you're not going, okay, thank you for that. I don't
Yeah.
want that anymore. I accept that, but it's not mine. Goodbye. And that's why the Ho'oponopono practices are so powerful as well, because it's all about the acceptance and actually letting things go. Which, if you want to do something more hands on, what a beautiful way to do it through soul portraits, exactly how you've described.
Yeah. It's really nice.
What has been, this is the question just popped in, what has been the weirdest thing that you've been asked to turn into a portrait?
So I get so excited when people share their materials with me and give me access to those layers of themselves. Like it is such a huge honor to witness people in that way. But I will say that there are a couple that come to mind where one person was essentially creating her soul portrait out of everything she was eating. So the strawberry tops, the tea bag, the potato chips, so it was like this soul portrait made from her lunch, essentially. And somebody else was making one with nail polish. And the entire thing was made, she brought in a crate of hundreds of different nail polishes because she was in this toxic relationship where her partner demanded that she change her toenails and fingernails to match the color of whatever outfit she had he had picked out, right? And so and then, like, it got pretty violent and he was in prison at the time, but she made her portrait out of pouring out nail polishes, Jackson Pollock style, and wrote over the top, "Trust your gut." And it was really powerful. So it's just people have a feeling, they have a sense of what to bring. Like that stuck energy is like, I want to be addressed. And the materials that go along with that, you will know what they are. So I just really encourage people to follow their intuition, listen to themselves, trust their gut, and move through the process and let their body tell the story.
Yeah, which is so powerful on so many levels, and we were sharing before before we started recording how I have to continually pull myself in and feel myself in my body, and you actually can't change or shift anything unless you're fully present. Like nothing will shift, nothing will change unless you're in your body again. And often when we have traumatic experiences, our soul leaves our body for a little
Yep.
bit until it
Yep.
knows it's safe to come back. And a lot of the
100%.
time, and a lot of the people I work with as well, the first thing we do is like, okay, we're going to pull your soul in. And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, well, it's there, but it's out here. It's not actually in here. So we need to pull it back in for you. And you can do it so quickly, but at the same time, when you're embodying in these emotions and when you're embodying in your body, just like you said, that is when you truly can anchor in and master the energy that's inside you so that your outside reflects that too.
Absolutely. I really resonate with what you're saying. And the past and the future, right? It's the past and it's the future, and we're always that bridge. And I think it's so important to honor the experiences that we've had, to ground in the present moment and have an invitation for the future and the vision that we want to have. And this process does all three. It really lets you be with yourself. So in a very loving way. I love what you're saying about calling the soul back in. It wants our safety. It wants us to connect with it. And that is where our power is. And creativity is, to me, it's always been a path. And I think creativity is just a huge umbrella. But to me, that creativity is the path to safety and wisdom.
Yeah, 100%. And I love the timing of this because by the time this airs, I'll already have done it. But I'm doing a talk next month. And the person running the event, she's like, oh, what are you going to call the talk? And I said, oh. And she goes, what? I said, birthing your soul essence through creativity. And she's like, ah. I was like, I know, I love it too. I said, I have no idea what I'm talking about yet, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But that itself is a process of creativity, whether you're doing a talk, a presentation, even if you're teaching someone at work, that's still an act of creativity because you're guiding them and you're sharing your knowledge and you're sharing something that you've learned. And we've been so conditioned that creativity is just like art, music, or dance, or things like that. Whereas, like you said at the very start, where we're circling back, it can be gardening, it can be cooking, it can be wherever you can put your energy into, and an expression of you follows.
100%. This podcast is creativity, and making coffee is alchemy. And I think creativity is everywhere. And we have it's not so much that it's even, music or art. It's that even when we say this is creativity, I think we've been really conditioned to dismiss even the things that we consider valid creative expressions, like museums or record labels or dance professional. It all has to be professional, but even within the professional realm, like I had great gallery representation and I could still dismiss my own success or creativity. Like, what is that? So what is creativity and what is good and what is that? So I love challenging the gatekeepers around what is and is not creativity, because so much is. Yeah.
100%. Even going for a walk can be inspiration, what leads to creativity. It's just,
I think
yeah.
movement is creativity. Like, you're shifting literal timelines. So I think as we move through space, that just simply walking is creativity literally in motion, because there's this vessel of divinity moving across space. Come on. So to me, I'm just like, but we just are so used to dismissing it, right? And I think being you know, an engineer is creativity, science, whatever, like it's all creativity.
And then I feel that there's this layer of the need to be perfect or really good at it rather than I'm just doing it because I love it. So even for me, I love singing and dancing around the kitchen, and my son's there like, stop singing. I'm like, no, you stop singing. He's like, but I'm not singing. And I said, well, you should be. It's like, and that just being in that fun and that joy, and how much gets attracted to you when you're in that state. And it's just this, it's not that you have to be in it all the time, but then when you are in it, you can feel the difference and you go, okay, well, I love doing this. Why did I stop doing that? For me, it was, when I was with my ex-husband, I gave up all the music that I liked and I was just listening to what he listened to. And then one of my friends just said to me, I don't know who you are anymore. Like, just play me a song. And I said I didn't know what it was. And then I sat there and I went, I don't know who I am anymore either. Hang on, I'm going to go back to my music and I'm going to change the radio stations. And it was just that little catalyst to step back into, okay, I actually love listening to music. Why did I stop doing that? And just stepping through that allowed that creativity to start to process, and a whole other chain of events. But it's just interesting how it can be sparked into something. And then sometimes our soul remembers our gifts too. Like, all of a sudden you'll be like, hey, I didn't know I could cook like this. Where did that come from? Or how did I know how to? For me, I was making a smudge bundle out of eucalyptus leaves, and I just did the whole thing. And my husband's like, how did you do that? I said, I don't know. It was a memory. It was just a memory. So sometimes when you allow that space and that expansion for that creativity to be birthed, your soul remembers the gift that you might have had in another life. I know people that can suddenly draw perfect portraits, they can write songs, all these different things, but you have to allow the space to be able to do that.
Absolutely. And I just want to say too that I really believe in the process of life, the process of creativity, not so much the product. Like, the product is great. But what is a perfect portrait? Like, what does that even mean? Because what I like, is it what I like? Is it what somebody else likes? Is it super accurate? And so when people come to me and they're like, well, I can't draw, I'm like, you don't have to draw. You can draw stick figures. We can do a blind contour drawing on top. You can stamp a butterfly over it. Like, whatever it is that you feel brings your soul into alignment, and there's an energy that's coming alive inside of you. Follow that. Like, what is that? And let it guide you to what needs to emerge. And so if you can do that with a memory, maybe it's ancestral, like you said, another lifetime, I'm just like, ooh, I want to do that. That sounds amazing.
When I cook, my grandmother and my great grandmother from both sides come through, and they'll just start telling me what to put in. And I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, put that in. And then sometimes they bicker with each other about the amount of, it's really funny, like two Italian women, right, bickering with each other. And then I'm like, okay. And whenever I'm in that space and allow that to happen, I create the most beautiful things. And I'm like, thank you for coming through. But it's, again, like you said, it's the process and allowing, and just, it's the process in itself. It's not about, I feel like we need to adopt that mentality of being like a 2 or 3 year old child who just brings you the drawing and is so proud because they just were in the process and they didn't care about what anyone thought about it. They were just so happy to be drawing and letting
Yeah.
that out.
Yeah. And you're talking about self-trust too, whether you're the little 3-year-old or you're in the kitchen listening to the spirit of your grandmothers. It's trusting what's happening. We love what we make. Like, no matter what it is, we love what we make until somebody tells us not to. And so I'm like, yeah, who were you before the world told you who to be? And can we reconnect with that version of you? Because they're still here. They're just buried under lots of lived experience that doesn't isn't the total of anything. It's just lived experience.
It's so true. Even, you adopt this thing, it's like, I'm a bad drawer. And it's like, where did that come from? Like, and it's funny because I joke with my clients, but when I have to draw on Zoom, I'm terrible at that. I'm not. And then I had this client, and he was, when I was a speech pathologist, and he was a really good artist. Like, he was very good at drawing anime and like those very cartoon things. And I was trying to draw him something to explain how to work with his energy for his social skills. And I drew this stick figure of him. He goes, can I do the drawing today? And I was like, Absolutely. I will put the extra bits in after and show you what I want to show you. You go ahead. And then this amazing character was birthed in the screen. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, that's your talent. And I was like, you need to do this every day. Like, because he was just so happy drawing. And I messaged his mom and said, please tell him that is more important than his homework. And anyone listening to this going, it's not, because that was his passion and that's his creativity and that's how he gets all the pent up energy out. So, that is more important, well, I believe, especially for kids, allowing them to have something to channel their energy into creatively that way, or in sport or whatever it might be. Like we talked about, could be anything, rather than worrying about, their homework.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, me trying to fit myself into the shape of what our culture wanted around education was such a waste of time, and it led to so much suffering. And if I was just left to my own devices, I think I would have been a much happier, more trusting kid and adult and human. So I love that you're saying that. And I also have I both love that the person that you were working with asked to draw and made a beautiful thing, but I also really want to say your stick figures were just fine, right? And they would have gotten the job done. And so, again, it's so subjective, right? What is beauty?
Honestly,
what is right?
Whenever my guides, if I have a client and they're like, we need you to draw this, I'm like, really? So they're
I
like,
love
draw
that.
a mountain. They're like, great, perfect. But exactly like you said, it works for what I need to do to get the message across, and it's just, and I have other talents and I love them, but I don't say I'm a bad drawer. I say that's not my forte.
Well, and if you don't enjoy it, right? If you're not getting any enjoyment, do the cooking, do what you enjoy,
Exactly.
joy, life, we need to follow the joy. So
exactly. And I feel that's such a it's interesting because the person I had on just before you, we were talking about money, because she works with money consciousness. So anyone listening to these episodes in a row will be like, we're just listening to joy. But the biggest thing is that where the joy goes, the money flows. So, if you're not doing something that brings you joy, it doesn't matter what it is or what how you show up in life, you're not going to have that abundance come back to you, because you're pushing all the good stuff away, because you're not in that joy and in that flow.
yeah. Well said. So good.
And as we start to finish our time together, I ask the guests that come on the show, if you could heal or change something in the world, what would it be?
I would love it if everyone knew the power of creativity that already is inside of them, and to follow that thread and make it stronger. It will change your life. Talk about joy, right?
Exactly.
Come on. Creativity is joy.
Exactly. It might be writing, might be podcasting, might be singing, it might be baking something for your child's bake sale. It doesn't matter.
It can be vacuuming. We're creative beings, so we've really forgotten that.
100%. And I love what you said about vacuuming. There was a person that said to me that a goddess likes it clean. Goddess likes it clean. So whenever I get frustrated with cleaning the house, I'm like, no, goddess likes it clean. And then it does feel really good after that. And that's just like, if you don't love a task, how can you make it more fun? So I'll put my music on and dance around while I'm vacuuming or mopping, or picking up rabbit poos. I still haven't figured that one out yet, but that's okay. So it's just about finding what works for you, and mastering the mundane as well, and letting that creativity flow, like you said.
It's ritual.
100%.
Ritual. And so even if you're picking up the rabbit poo, you've now made a beautiful, clean hutch for your rabbit. And there's calm. I don't know. I just think it's energetically calm when the litter box is clear.
100%.
It's gross.
It's gross.
It's gross. Then it's less gross. And then it starts all over again. It's all cyclical, right?
Definitely. And if people want to come and work with you, Devorah, or they want to learn more about soul portraits, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and it's either under Soul Portraits or my name, and they'll find me, and they can always message me through social media.
Beautiful. I'll make sure to put all those details in the show notes as well.
Thanks.
So a big thank you for coming on the show, and I really loved learning about soul portraits and what you're doing and sharing in the world to help people alchemize all those things that they're running away from.
Exactly. They're not so scary. Thanks, Catherine.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do. She knew everything about him. That was the problem. In my new romantic thriller, My Virtual Obsession, we explore what happens when loneliness takes you down a path you never expected, when technology and surveillance begin to infiltrate every area of your life to the point you no longer recognize it. As Clive logged in for company, he never expected the events to unfold. If you'd like to learn more or read My Virtual Obsession, check it out on Amazon, my website, willowhealing.org, as well as your favorite ebook readers.